So how exactly do you drive a steam engine, right? If you're anything like me, you've always wondered, just from a user standpoint, how this works. Is there just a throttle you move up and down to control the speed? Are there gears? Well, thanks to this game I've discovered recently called Derail Valley, I've been able to get a little bit of a glimpse into what that's like. This game is really incredible. It has about 8 different locomotives on offer, and it models the operation of a steam engine to a very high degree of accuracy without overdoing it. So in this video, we're going to look at some of the basic operating principles, how it actually works from a driver's standpoint, and we're going to go through the startup process for a locomotive and also going to take it for a little spin. Now, among the 8 locomotives on offer in this game, only 2 are steam engines. There's this one, and there's the larger model that we saw in the intro that's significantly more powerful, but also a bit more complex to operate. So I'm going to be demonstrating using this smaller model. So to start, just the basic principles of how a steam engine works. So you need a storage of fuel, in this case, coal. This is actually more of a shunting locomotive, meaning that it's primarily meant to go short distances and move trains around within a station. So it carries everything on board. The larger locomotive has like a trailer behind it, a tender to carry all the coal and water. This one carries it on board. The coal hopper is actually back here, and this black area here is actually a water tank. There's another one on the other side. You need to fill those up between runs. In most stations, including this one, there is you'll see that's a water filler. There's also coal stations, but this one's all filled up and ready to go. Now, before we actually fire it up, there's a couple things I need to do, and there's a couple things I did prior to this video. So one of those is the lubrication system. These need a lot of oil to keep everything moving. There's actually 3 on each side of these little oil cups that you need to fill with oil. The game gives you this oil can to do that with. There's also a like a centralized oil system, an automatic lubricator, and we need to prime that by running this around a few times as well. That's all been taken care of. We also need to turn on some of the auxiliary features. One is the compressor, and that's going to use a little bit of steam pressure to run an air compressor, which is used to run the brakes. And we also turn on our dynamo, which again uses a little bit of steam to run an electrical generator that lets us have lights, right? Headlights, taillights, and the cab lights. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. We're going to go through the startup process and then take it on a very short run. Now I've got 3 cars behind it, a pretty lightweight train, but it's enough to simulate how this all works. So now that we're in the cabin, we can start the process of getting this going. So obviously the 2 components that you need to make steam, you need a heat source and you need water. So for our heat source, we're going to run on coal, and we need to start by shoveling some coal from the hopper back here into the firebox. Now it uses a lot of coal to get started, but as it's running, you actually don't want to fill it up all the way. You want to leave room for air to run it efficiently. So the game gives us this lighter we can use to light our fire, and then we can close that up. And we can see our fire temp is already climbing quite rapidly, and our steam pressure needle is just starting to move there. So while that's running, I can talk about how the water system works. So as I mentioned, there's 2 large water tanks, one on each side of this locomotive, but the boiler doesn't draw from there, right? You need to open this valve periodically, the injector, that will actually run some water into the boiler where it can be used to produce steam. And the water level in the boiler is shown in this sight glass here. Looks like we're at about halfway. We're good for now. So you will periodically, while running this thing, need to open the injector to let more water in. Now, there's a caveat there. When you do that, that actually, the water comes in cold. So that's going to cool down the system and affect your steam production. So you need to time it right. You do it when you're going downhill, or if you're just going on level ground and can coast the locomotive, or you can use it if you're actually generating too much steam, right? If you're in danger of having some excess, you can turn on the injector for a little bit, cool everything down. Now I need to shovel more coal in. This thing is not very efficient when it's warming up. We also can use the blower to help us get up to temperature quicker. What that does is that uses a little bit of steam pressure to create an additional draft into the system to improve your firing a little bit. The air intake into the firebox is mostly actually done by the engine itself. When you're actually up and running, it's going to be drawing air in as part of the steam cycle, but at rest you don't have that, so that's what the blower is for. We also have the blow down, and what that does is that lets water out of the boiler. So if we overfill it, that can help us avoid a blown cylinder. Interesting thing about the water level sight glass is it is affected by the angle of the locomotive. So if you're going uphill or downhill, it's not going to read as accurately. So again, that's something that you need to keep in mind. So the game tutorials recommend that you keep the steam pressure above 9 bars. So we're there, we're good. So I'm going to go ahead and top us up on coal. Okay, and we're about ready to get started here. Let's make sure we have our brakes activated. We can turn off the train brake as well as the hand brake. All right, so when it comes to actually turning all of this steam pressure into forward or rearward motion, there's a couple of controls we need to think about. One is this regulator, and that is the main control of how much steam is being let out of the boiler. But that doesn't drive the wheels. No, that would be too simple. It's sending the steam from the boiler to the steam chest. And from there, it is used to run the pistons, which in turn drive the wheels. And that part of letting the steam out of the steam chest, that is managed with this lever, the cutoff. And this does a couple of things. It controls whether you want to go forward or back, great. But it also, how far forward or back you have it, plays a big role. It's essentially like shifting gears. So if we push the cutoff all the way forward, that's going to be pushing the maximum amount of steam into the pistons with each chuff, right? Each stroke. And that's great for starting from a stop, or if you're going slowly up a hill. But as you go faster, the valves aren't open long enough to get all of that steam out. So if you try to run at speed with this all the way forward, you're going to be very inefficient. So once you get moving, you have to walk this back towards the center position to make sure that you're not pushing too much steam into the cylinders. One way you can operate this thing is just run the regulator open the whole time and control everything else with the cutoff. There's no single right way to do it. So as we get ready to get moving here, the one other thing we need to do here is I want to make sure the cylinder cocks are open. Now, since we've been running the boiler for a few minutes here without moving, some of that steam has been settling in the cylinders and cooling into water. Now, as you probably know, water does not compress very well. So if you're running a lot of steam into cylinders that have water in them, you're going to have a bad time. That can lead to a blown cylinder. The game will give you a warning in terms of the sound it makes. You'll hear water sloshing around. And actually, let me close the cylinder cock so we can hear that. But as part of starting the locomotive from a stop, you usually need to open the cylinder cocks to let some of that water out. Okay, so all of our brakes are off. We have our cutoff all the way forward. Let's make sure we have coal. And let's go ahead and open up this regulator here. So we'll open up about halfway, and we'll start to hear it here. There's the chuffs. And you can hear the water sloshing around. So that means we need to open the cylinder cocks, vent some of that steam to take the water out with it. That's enough. And now that we're moving, we can walk the cutoff back. And you'll see that we're accelerating here. We can look from the outside, see how we're doing here. Everything's good. Might as well blow the whistle while we're at it. Okay, and we are accelerating nicely here. This locomotive tops out at 60 kilometers an hour. Again, it's meant for short runs or shunting, but it's a great demonstrator for this. So I'm going to take it out of the station, and then we're going to bring it to a stop, and I'll give a little bit of a talk on how the brakes work. So I'm going to actually cut the regulator here. we're actually generating excess steam right now, and it's being emitted via the safety valve. So there's a few things that you can do to control that. As I mentioned, you can time your use of the injector to cool things down and prevent excess steam. There's also a damper that you can close, which will limit the airflow into the firebox and limit the fire a little bit. So yeah, there's a lot of balls to keep in the air, keeping this thing running and running efficiently. So I'm going to go ahead and bring us to a stop here. Now, locomotive brakes are a pretty large topic, but just for now, all I'll say is we just need to activate the brakes here. And once we start to slow down, there we go. I can back off a little bit, and it's going to go ahead and bring us to a stop here. All right, now since we're stationary, I can engage the handbrake and then release the train brake. All right, so hopefully this video has been helpful for you, kind of wrapping your head around something you might have been curious about for a long time. Once again, the game I'm using here is called Derail Valley. You can pick it up on Steam. I'll have a link in the description. And yeah, I hope to make more videos. Thank you so much for watching.